Well, hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this latest video in programming for the web series. Today we're going to look at the installation and the first look at Linux Mint 20 Ulyana. There have been some videos about this already by other people, and I did look at one or two, and for some reason or other they had problems installing it, so we'll have a look and see if we're going to have a problem here. Today we're installing it on a virtual machine, and I'm giving the virtual machine 4 gig of RAM, two processors, and 64 gig of disk space. I'm giving it quite a lot of power, as this seems to be what it needs. If you try and put it on, install it with sort of one processor and 1 gig of memory RAM, then there seems to be one or two problems. Anyhow, let's get started. So first of all, you need to go to Linux Mint and then click on the image or click on download, it doesn't matter which. Okay, scroll down to Cinnamon and then choose your favorite mirror. As I'm in the UK, I will come down to the UK, and I've probably missed it. No, there we are. And I tend to use the University of Kent, so click on that and it will start to come down. I can tell you now that I've already downloaded it, so I'm going to cancel that. So it's already been downloaded. Okay, let's start the virtual machine and we'll get started. So here we go. So I've downloaded the ISO and I've clicked on start, so it's going to automatically boot in about 1 second. Everything looks normal. According to the information on the Linux Mint site, they've made some improvements and changes. Most of it seems to be the look and feel, and this is the long-term support version, and I believe it's supported until 2025, though I would need to double check that. Okay, so it seems I'm connected to the internet as well, and as you can see it's automatically resized itself, which it didn't do previously. So to install Linux Mint, you double click on the install Linux Mint. It's as simple as that. If you want to have a look at what's different, then you can do that before installing. Okay, as I'm working on a virtual machine, I've got I've got a menu at the top, which is part of the virtual machine, and a menu part at the bottom, which you wouldn't have on a normal system. Okay, so let's go to install Linux Mint, and of course it then asks for which language you would like, and there is a problem which I think is actually to do with Ubuntu rather than Linux Mint, and it's the Ubuntu store. So I'm in the UK, so English UK, so I'll click on that and it's just a straight English UK keyboard. Again, select your keyboard, and if you have a special keyboard you can use it. So continue. Right, I'm going to install the multimedia codecs. It's probably downloading, or it's checking which ones and then downloading. As you can see, it's resized the display, which is not very helpful, and so you need to move everything around. So just bear in mind that it will actually resize your display occasionally. It's a good idea just to wait a couple of seconds after it's done it, just so it resizes it back. So I have an empty disk. It's a virtual disk, so I'm going to erase the disk and install. I'm going to use logical volume management, but I'm not going to encrypt. You don't have to do that if you don't wish. It just makes it easier for making the disk larger if necessary. If you know what you're doing, you can set up your own disks by using something else. Install now. it will actually tell you what it's going to do. There we go. So it's actually telling you what it's going to do with the disks and how it's going to partition them and format them. So we'll click continue, and it hopefully will ask for where we are. So London, as you can see. So continue, enter your name. So I'm going to just put in John, and instead of VirtualBox I shall put Linux Mint 20, and then a password. You want something that's very easy to remember and type, but reasonably secure. So you can see it says it's a good password here. Okay, so continue. Now it'll just copy the files over and start the installation. So while it's doing that, let's look at what's new on Linux Mint 20. So we'll go back to the main page, and you can see there's all sorts of information here. So we'll click on Linux Mint 20 Cinnamon, which is the one we're installing. Okay, so it's a long-term support until 2025. Okay, and it comes with a number of features and improvements. Whether you think they're a feature or an improvement is whether or not you will use them. As you can see, it says you need 1 gig of RAM. Well, that's not really correct. Today, for this, if you've got 2 gig of RAM, you're going to be struggling, and 4 gig would be better. 2 gig is, yeah, minimum, I would say. And right, well, 15 gig of disk space is well, you're going to fill it immediately. I've given the virtual disk 64 gig, just so I've got room to play, and of course a reasonable monitor as well. Okay, you can't upgrade just yet. Okay, they will actually have an upgrade system available later, but it's not available here yet. And of course then you can see where you can download from. Let's have a look at the release notes. Okay, so one of the things that they've done is Chromium is not available in the default repositories, and due to an argument between Linux Mint and Ubuntu, Snap Store has been disabled. Okay, and you can actually get more information as to how to install it here. I don't really think that they should share their political views and arguments, and so I don't really believe that this is correct. Okay, if we go back to what's new, okay, Warpinator. Now this is a reincarnation of a previous program called Giver, and which allowed you to easily share files across a local network. Yes, it's a good idea. It's an excellent idea, because it just makes your life so much easier rather than having to go into terminal and set up SSH to do it. But yes, for most people who are now starting to use Linux, who don't want the difficulties of, say, terminal, then yeah, a good idea. Okay, so you can actually share the files. Okay, NVIDIA Optimus, so you can change NVIDIA settings on the fly. It also allows you to change them. You can run it, a particular one with a particular card, so you can actually decide which card you're going to be using. Okay, some new tray icons by the looks of things. Yes, so there's some new tray icons, so they've all been harmonized so they look the same. Display, okay, so Nemo File Manager the performance has been improved. I noticed that one of the updates they did, it wasn't automatically refreshing, which is a bit annoying. So now as well, let's have a look. You can set the refresh rate, though for a lot of TFT and LCD monitors that's really not necessary, but it could be done. And There is fractional scaling as well, okay, which helps with sort of MacBooks and things like that. X-apps, so yes, so XED, the notepad, has had a small update on it, so you can join. Xviewer has received buttons and full screen, and there's a print button on the X Reader. When you're installing packages, okay, it's been given a new interface. System improvements, so yep, they've done a few, but as you can see, Snapd, this is part of this political argument between Mint and Ubuntu, and I'm not sure that it's a good idea. The live sessions running under VirtualBox automatically get 1024 by 768, which we saw here, as you can see, 1024 by 768, and you can see it's actually installing. Now, this is a problem with Ubuntu. The installation takes a very long time because it wants to install virtually all the different languages for LibreOffice. Now, that to me is not correct, but this is an Ubuntu thing. It's not a Linux Mint thing. And what I would have said would be better is, you know that I've set the language to English, you know that I've set the keyboard to English UK, why not look at that piece of information and then just install that, okay, and then you give us the option later on of installing other languages, because this actually takes quite a long time, and it does. It takes, I think, about 30 minutes or so just to install LibreOffice because of these language packs. Right, let's have a look. It's got a Linux firmware 1.187 and the kernel 5.4, which is good. So we're back here. So there's better artwork and variety of colors, and you can have yellow folders, which we will see in a moment, and that. And when you actually start up, you get the option of setting up your desktop as well. Okay, you have different background settings, and it's got Cinnamon 4.6, and it's, as I say, the long-term support, okay, until 2025. Okay, so those are the new things in here. Do you need to upgrade from 19.3? It depends on you. Do you need to share files? If you need to share files easily, and you haven't set up SSH and that type of thing, well then yes, it might be a good idea. But really, if I remember rightly, 19.3 or is supported until 2023, if I remember rightly. So you've got another couple of years or so on 19.3. It's your choice, really. I will be upgrading later on. This computer is actually running Linux 19.3, and we're running the virtual machine on top of that, and I'm quite happy with that, but we will see. Now, as I mentioned, this is going to take quite a long time. You can see it's done some of the Chinese one, it's now doing the Russian ones and things like that. So Brazilian, now Brazilian Portuguese. So why it needs to do all of this, I don't know. It just takes a very, very long time to put it all on your machine, and I don't see why it needs to do it. So we'll come back when this is finished, and we'll have a look at what's happening then. As you can see, installation is complete. It took about an hour or so, and most of that was because of the installation of LibreOffice. They're going to have to do something with that. So if you are installing Linux Mint or any Ubuntu, then you will need to give yourself about an hour minimum just for the installation. Right, we're going to do the restart. Okay. We'll come back once this is restarted. Okay, so we've restarted, so enter your password, and this will take a moment on the first boot up. Okay, as you can see, we've now booted in. It says check your video drivers and launch driver manager and this type of thing. I'm actually going to close that because there are no video drivers on this at the moment. And it should, in theory, resize the screen, but it doesn't look like it's going to do. So you get the welcome screen, and the first thing that I would recommend you do is that you change the screen size. Okay, now you can go into system settings, so click on first step, scroll down to system settings and click on launch, and I'll just minimize that for now, and there are the system settings here. And you want to come down to display, and this screen I'm going to change to 1280 by 960. When I click apply, it's actually going to jump to the other monitor, and so I'll need to bring it back. So I'll click apply. You can see you can change the refresh rate. In fact, you can't, because this being an LCD monitor, it only has one. Rotation is normal. You can have fractional scaling, as I say, if you want. You can see all of that there. So click apply, and it jumped to the other monitor, so we'll bring it back, and you get 20 seconds or so to 30 seconds or so to see if it's okay. Of course, if you can't see anything, it will automatically revert back after that, so you don't have to worry. So keep this configuration as it's the one I want. Okay, I'll close system settings and we'll go back into the Linux Mint welcome screen. And as you can see, you can actually change your desktop colors, and you can change a number of things that you want to do. Okay, so you can actually have the dark theme or the light theme. I tend to prefer the light theme, but that's your choice as to what you want. You can have the traditional panel, or you can change to the modern panel. You can see here we've got the traditional, it's the smaller ones. If I click on modern, it should be the larger icons. There we go. And again, it says check your video drivers. Not much I can do with that at the moment. Okay, if you're installing this on a real machine rather than a virtual machine, install system snapshots. This will take between 10 and 20 gig once it's installed and up and running, but it's a bit like Windows Restore. It doesn't save your data, you have to do that separately, but it does make sure that you can go back to a particular time on the operating system. As I say, this is a virtual machine for testing, so I'm not going to actually install that at the moment. You've got the driver manager, update manager. This is this shield icon down here. I would recommend that you actually do this once you've actually set up system snapshots and run the full update. You will need to actually change the mirrors to make it a bit faster, though it is actually quite good as to which mirror it's going to use. You can change your system settings, as we saw for the display. You can change them here, and in Software Manager you can download all sorts of different programs. For example, on here it comes with Office, and so you've got LibreOffice and all of that, as you can see. Okay, so you've got all of the LibreOffice and all of this on here, but you don't have VLC, and I do prefer VLC. Celluloid is fine just for looking at video or something like that, but I do prefer VLC. So you can install VLC from the Software Manager either here or on the welcome screen, and of course you can install a lot of other items from there. So Firewall, now this is a good idea. So you just click on launch. You need to put in your password, okay, and then if it's a home machine, all you have to do is set up it for home, and you just click on the status button so that the status comes on, and that's it. That's all you need to do. Now if you're running various games and using different ports, then you would set the rules and you'd create some new rules here, and when you click on plus it actually gives you some, sorry, it actually gives you, it's the bottom one, some different rules that you can use. So for example, I mean, if you're using BitTorrent, then you can click on BitTorrent and it will automatically set up the ports for you. Cups for printing, for example, and it would set up the ports for you there. Bear in mind that if you do this, then sharing files with other computers can be a little bit difficult. So that's why you'd need Giver, but they don't call it Giver anymore. I've forgotten what they call it. What's it called? What's it called? What's it called? The file sharing. Warpinator. So let's have a look at Warpinator, because I haven't seen this before. This is new to me, and I don't actually have any. Oops, searching for other computers. I don't actually have another computer on at the moment, so my network is up and running, but I think this could well be a firewall. Okay, port number can be changed. See preferences for more details. So it could well be, and the fact that I'm not actually running Warpinator on any of the others, so that's why it hasn't found anything. Not to worry. So preferences, let's have a look in preferences. Okay, so you can actually see the icon here, and you can see the location for receive files and that type of thing. So the incoming port is 42,000, and I can actually go and make a rule for that. I wonder if it's set by default. Let's see if there's a rule by default here. Pre-configured. No, it can't find it. It can't find it. So I'd have to do that manually. So simple Warpinator, and it was 42,000. Okay, so let's have a look. Add. So we'll close that, and you can see that we've now got Warpinator allowed. Okay, and you can change it, remove it, edit it. Okay. Okay, so we'll close that. We'll close Warpinator. As I say, I haven't got it running on any other machine, so it's coming off. Okay, so that's Linux Mint 20 Ulyana, and as I say, it seems to be working fine. Some people have said they've had problems, but as you can see, I installed it. I didn't have any problems. It just installed from scratch. The only real problem is the fact that now that LibreOffice requires that all the languages and all the translations goes on, it takes half an hour just to do that for LibreOffice. Sorry, just starting up another version of Linux on a different machine. Okay, so any comments, please leave them below. I do read all the comments, and thank you for watching. Please like, share and subscribe. My name's John, and I'll see you next time.